So in this video, I want to talk about a skill that literally changed my life and improved my social life, improved me socially. It improved me, in my work, in my confidence and everything. And this skill is talking to camera. So 3 years ago, I started working on this skill, talking to camera. And I think it's the skill that all students should learn. Literally just 5 to 10 minutes of talking to camera every single day can transform you in so many different ways, which I want to talk to you about in this video. So basically 3 years ago, I started talking to camera. I learned about how talking to camera can help you improve your social skills. So I started doing this activity where once a week, I would make a fake podcast where I would just talk on camera for an hour and pretend I'm in a podcast. And it was the most awkward thing in the world. Basically, I would turn on the camera and my mind would go blank. I would have no clue what to say. I would sit there and I was like completely frozen. I was feeling so awkward, so uncomfortable. I didn't know what to say. I was like, it was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing that I literally took the videos I recorded and I put them so deep into my computer, like into so many different folders, so deep into my folder, because I didn't want people to discover it. I was so embarrassed. And I didn't even watch the videos back because it was so cringe to watch. But let me tell you, actually, that feeling of cringe is a good sign. It means there's a part of you that you're not accepting. And because you're not accepting that part of you, you're unconsciously changing your behavior to protect yourself. I'm going to go through that in this video. I'm not sure if that makes sense. But improving your communication skills is massive. Because I remember the point I realized where improving my communication skills was so important. I was applying for this job, for this engineering job, and I seemed like the perfect client. I was a local student. I had top grades. I graduated with basically the highest marks, H1. I knew all the knowledge. I had done a bunch of extracurriculars, including engineering, leadership roles, all those things. And I destroyed all their questions, all their theory questions, but I didn't get the job. And my guess was because of my communication skills. I talked to them so awkwardly. I was basically frozen. I was like not speaking much. And so that's why communication skills are so important, because you could have so much value to share, but if nobody can hear about it, it's not going to help. Same thing in social situations. I used to freeze in social situations. I didn't know what to say. My mind would go blank. So I could never connect with anyone because nobody could see the real me, because I wasn't sharing it with people. I was just completely frozen in social situations. So this skill can help you start to overcome this. All right, so I'm going to go through some benefits here of talking to camera and how exactly to approach this activity. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is to begin to accept yourself and to begin to speak confidently. So when I started talking to camera, I started cringing when I watched the videos. And the reason I cringed when I watched the videos was not because there was something wrong with me, but it was because there was parts of me I was not accepting. I would sit there and I would notice this twitch that I would have in my face, or I would say something awkward, which I would regret saying. And I would think why did I say that? Why did I share that? And the truth is, because I was trying to control the way I spoke so much, I was so careful how I came off to other people. I was so careful with what I said. I was so careful with how I moved, literally my every expression. Because I was so careful, I would freeze in social situations because there was so much going on, so much pressure. And so when I would start to record myself on camera, I started facing that fear. And I did some inner work and I discovered that my deep, deep, deep fear was I was scared of people seeing the real me. I was scared of putting myself out there, being the real me, and people rejecting me, because it would signify that I wasn't good enough, that there was something wrong with me. So as a way to protect myself, I would basically pretend to be someone I was not. I would give fake expressions to people. I would pretend to be interested in things. I had this fake personality which I would play. And everyone has this fake personality to an extent. To survive in society, we do need to have this social mask to not be, destroyed by society. If all of us let out the real us to everybody we met, it would be dangerous. People would, use us. So it wasn't, at the time, I thought I was a bad person for having this social mask. I thought I was manipulating people. There was something wrong with me. But looking back, it was just a way I was using to protect myself. Because if I put out the real me and that got rejected, that was painful. But if I was like putting on this mask, faking this version of me, and that got rejected, it was a little bit less painful. And so it also felt good because I would like try to be the person that people wanted me to be. I would try to think, okay, what does this person want me to be? And I would mold myself into that version so that I could gain their approval. And their validation, their approval felt so good to me. I spent most of my life in this validation seeking mode. And so most of my behaviors were aligned with gaining as much validation as possible. I know this is going a bit off topic, but that was a large reason why I worked so hard in my studies and got so good grades. Because I associated getting good grades with people respecting me, validating me being good enough, me being a good person. So when you start to talk to camera, you start to face this fear. You start to see this kind of like fake version of yourself that you're playing. You start to see these ways that you're kind of being inauthentic, and it makes you feel kind of cringe. It makes you feel uncomfortable because you're facing these parts of you that you don't like. But the reality is, it's you. And so when I was doing this activity, I learned to start to accept myself. I started watching those videos, and when I started cringing, I started thinking, okay, this feels cringe. I'm experiencing this feeling of cringe. What's the worst thing that can happen? What am I so scared of? And I started to understand, is there really something wrong with me? Or am I just being so harsh on myself? And I realized I was just being so harsh on myself. There was actually nothing wrong with me. I just needed to learn to accept myself. How can other people accept me if I myself don't accept myself? So doing this activity really like exposed a lot of my insecurities, exposed a lot of the shame that I was feeling. And it allowed me to let go of that and start to feel more confident in myself. And so within a couple months of doing this activity, I went from like being very careful with what I spoke to on camera, being like really changing my behavior and everything, to reaching what I would call like a flow state. So this filter that I used to have in my mind where I would be very careful with everything I said, that would cause me to be blank. That would cause me to not know what to say because I was being very careful with what I let out. And so I reached this point where the filter dissolved and I was just speaking in this flow. I could let it all out. And when you reach that point, it's good. You start to accept the real you. You start to see the real you. But then I started encountering another problem, two problems. First problem was a year later, after I did this activity, I started posting on YouTube. So now I wasn't just talking to camera for me to see. Now I was talking to camera for the entire world to see. And the thing is, at first it was difficult. It took me months of procrastination to finally start to put myself out there in the world. And I thought, okay, look, I'm going to put myself out there in the world. And when people start viewing me, people start enjoying my content, deep down I was thinking, this is going to mean I'm good enough. When I start getting views. And basically what happened was I grew to 20,000 subscribers. And before then I thought, okay, once I reach 20,000 subscribers, I'm going to be happy. It's going to prove that I'm good enough, that I'm a good person. There's nothing wrong with me. But something crazy happened. It actually amplified that insecurity inside of me. I thought, okay, what if all these views are not real? What if these people discover that actually I'm not who I say I am? Deep down, I thought there was something wrong with me. And I thought, okay, if these people discover that there's actually something wrong with me, this is going to be so painful. There's 20,000 people watching. Basically, this is what you could call imposter syndrome. I thought that gaining these many subscribers would skyrocket my confidence. And it did to an extent. It skyrocketed my ego. But there was an other side to it. I was terrified. I was scared. What if people saw the real me? And so I experienced a lot of freeze during this period, 2024, where I struggled to post videos. I struggled to talk on camera because this fear inside of me had been amplified. That might not be relatable to you if you're not growing your channel. But the other thing that might be relatable to you is I could talk pretty freely on camera, but in person, I was struggling. In person, I couldn't access that same flow. I was still having this filter. And that's because in person, when you talk to someone, you have this feedback. Now you're not just talking for you to see. Now you're not just talking for you to accept yourself. Now you're talking because you want this person to accept you. If you're like me and you're in this validation seeking mode where you try to gain the approval of other people, you will encounter this problem where at home you might be able to speak freely, which is the first step, which is good. You've accepted yourself. You've started to accept yourself. But now when you start to talk to other people, you might find yourself still freezing. And that's not a bad thing. It just means that your body, your system, is thinking that that other person is a threat. And you don't want to let out the real you because they might reject you. They might, see the real you and have some sort of negative reaction to it. At least that was in my situation, right? I'm not saying this is the case for you. I'm just talking purely about my story. So I found that I would go talk to people and I would still struggle to be myself. But then this became an activity of working on myself, working on my nervous system. Because basically I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I was boring. I thought that I had nothing to say. I thought that, I didn't want to lose the approval of people, so I changed myself. But what I started learning was my body was just in this survival mode. It was in what's called freeze mode, where basically because of past experiences, where when I was a kid I got bullied or I got rejected, those kinds of things, my nervous system started to learn that other people are a potential threat, not to my survival. Although sometimes to my survival, I would go into a room and I thought people could hurt me physically. But it was more like a threat to my self-esteem, to my ego. I thought people could potentially reject me. So I was scared to put out the real me. And so it became this new activity where I had to learn to accept myself and learn to put myself out there and face rejection. Because here's the mind-blowing thing that I want to tell you. When I first realized this was actually mind-blowing. So I suffered with huge fear of talking to camera, huge fear of talking to people. And I thought I was scared of talking to them, whatever. And I was, but this is on the surface level. Deep down, I wasn't actually scared of talking to the people. I was scared of the feeling that would come if they rejected me. So I wasn't actually scared of talking to people. I knew this because sometimes I would talk to people and if they responded well to me, I'd go to a party, I would talk to someone, they responded well to me. They were like, oh, bro, Penrose, you're so amazing. Thank you for this, thank you for this. They inflated my ego. They made me feel so good. I would feel like top of the world. I would suddenly be so social. I'd be able to walk around and speak so freely to everyone because this guy had boosted my ego. Now I had no shame because I thought I was so good. But if I would go to a party and somebody would reject me, or maybe not even reject me, maybe just have a little bit of a negative reaction to me. Like I would go to the party and I'd be like, hey Bob, how you doing? And they'll be like, oh yeah, good man, I gotta go. And maybe it was because they were, stressed about something else. But I would take it personally. And that would activate that shame response inside of me. And I would feel like, oh no, something's wrong with me, what's going on? And my body would shut down and it would go into freeze mode. So the reality was, I was not scared of talking to other people. Because if I was scared of talking to other people, then I wouldn't feel high when people validated me. I was scared of that feeling of rejection. I was scared of somebody rejecting some part of me. And if it was a part of me that I didn't accept, it would feel more painful. But I was scared of someone rejecting some part of me and the feeling that would come afterwards. My stomach would literally drop. I would feel so bad. I would feel like so much shame. That feeling that would come was what I was scared of. I was simply scared of a feeling. That's it. And so when you talk to camera, you start to accept that feeling. You start to watch yourself recording and you feel that cringe inside of you and you start to accept it. You understand that this says nothing about me. I'm not scared of talking to people. I just can't sit with this feeling. This feeling is so uncomfortable. And so I realized that I started to have this really, really deep fear. Like at the deepest level, I was scared of being seen. My real fear on YouTube was not fear of, failing or making a mistake. Because I failed so many times, my videos didn't always pop off. I was scared of putting myself 100% out there and still failing. If I put in my 100% and I still failed, that would officially prove that I'm not good enough, that there was something wrong with me. And that was my real fear. That was my deep down fear. I had this fear of being seen. I had this fear of not being chosen. And this fear was so deep, it ran me so strong, it controlled my every behavior. If someone would validate me, I would feel so good, I would feel top of the world. If someone would reject me or insult me, I would collapse. And this is not a good way to live, right? Like, yes, you're being fake to other people. In theory, you're being fake. But as long as you're not harming other people, I wasn't harming other people. As long as I wasn't harming other people, then it was potentially fine. It's not a problem. It was more like painful for me because I was controlling myself so much to put on this fake personality, this fake version of me. And one insult would ruin my day. And one validation would get me so high that I would like crave it. If one girl would like compliment me or something, I would become so attached to them, so addicted to them, that I would just become obsessed to an unhealthy level. And so when you're such a victim to other people's opinions of you, it really, really affects your life. It really makes you feel so bad. It affects your life in so many ways. So I worked on this survival response. I worked on this freeze response. I started coming out of it. I started working on basically my emotions, all those things. And talking to camera helped with this a lot because it helped me understand what was going on in my body, what was going on with me, what my real fears were. And I started to face these things. And instead of walking around like scanning everywhere for threats, like, oh, is this person a threat? Is this person a threat? Is this person like a potential mate or whatever? Scanning like that, I would walk around in situations feeling so much more calm, so much more relaxed, so much more comfortable in myself. And that's worth so much, to be honest. That's worth way more than any piece of validation anyone could give me. That's worth more than 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Just feeling okay, feeling comfortable in yourself. So I wish more people knew that there's nothing wrong with them. Their body is just misinterpreting certain things as a threat. I talk about this all the time in my channel, how procrastination is nothing to do with not having the best technique. It's nothing to do with the fact that you're lazy. It's nothing to do with the fact that there's something wrong with you. It's that your body is in survival mode and it's seeing studying as a threat. It's seeing studying as a threat to your identity, if that makes sense. So I hope this video helped. Let me know if you relate to anything I said here, but talking to camera can help you so much. But more importantly, working on yourself. Working on yourself can help you so much. It can help you begin to actually accept yourself and to actually feel calm, to feel relaxed, to begin to trust yourself again. So, yeah, see you later.